Okay, seems like things are working. Hello, everybody. Um, had a technical difficulties. I'm still checking to make sure some of that's going. I hope you all loved my ever so delightful back wall. It's the most exciting thing about the day, but we're in a different place. We're not in my tiny office. We're in somebody else's large office. And today we have a different guest, Guy Fishman, who's a cellist I met 20 something years ago.
Something like that.
I'm gonna bring him up. So everybody, this is Guy Fishman. Guy, thanks for coming.
Pleasure.
As you can tell, Guy's a cellist. There's a cello in his hands. We're gonna dive right into this. And Guy, do you mind just playing something first so everybody kind of knows what you're into?
Not at all. Happy to.
I'm gonna switch you over to performance mode. Let's turn this on and nice,
Thank you.
really nice. I don't get like private concerts
Oh,
very often.
call me up more often.
Drag you into work at
Sure.
7:30 at night
I love it here.
on a, is it Tuesday? Is that what day it is?
I think it is, yeah.
Oh, okay. So what did you play?
That was the prelude from the Suite in G major for unaccompanied cello by Johann Sebastian Bach.
Okay, so this is the one that kind of, if somebody has heard a Bach cello
If you've
suite.
been to a wedding, likely you've heard this piece, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay. Have you played it at many weddings?
I think I've played it at a few weddings, yeah. Also a couple of funerals. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It just it's just so beautiful and so peaceful and you know, he chose a key that just demands a lot of open strings and just this opening gesture is so welcoming that I can see why it's such a popular piece in the concert hall, also outside of it.
Oh, it reminds me quite a bit of the, the first piano prelude.
The C major prelude from
Yeah.
the Well-Tempered
Yeah.
Book One, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Same idea. It's just collection of harmonies mostly, some connecting scales.
So for me, this is kind of the best introduction. I think we were introduced, was it New York String Seminar? Is that-
Yes, that's correct.
we were both playing principal in that.
Yeah.
And I was way out of my depth.
Well, you're not a string player.
No, no. I showed up at the string seminar, and I don't know if that was my first one or the second one, but I was way out of my depth.
Oh, I don't think so.
Well, I took the audition here at NEC, and I was walking by, and Isidore Cohen was in the Keller room,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Is that Isidore Cohen?" And forgotten her name, not Rihanna, the woman who's been running string seminar for many years.
It's been so long. I'm so sorry.
But
If you're watching, I apologize.
yeah, sorry, I'm here to cause problems. And I was like, "Is it Cohen?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Are these, what is this? Some kind of audition?" She's like, "Yeah, but it's string seminar." I'm like, "Oh, no clarinets." And started walking away, and she's like, no, come audition.
Oh, really? You took the audition just like...
Yeah.
Oh,
I ran down to the performance library. Russ Gersberger got me all the materials, and I sight read it, and it was Bizet. Did we do Bizet?
Yeah, symphony, that's right.
And I think the thing that really impressed them is that I could do all the transposition at sight. What I didn't know is that it was a transposed part, because Russ had given me a B flat part, and it was really a C part. And so I just miraculously played this so well with the transposition, and then later found out that no.
Good for you. I had to practice for that audition, so, you know.
I had to practice for the next one.
Okay.
Well,
it's the second one that counts, because if you get in the first time and not the second time, that's hard.
well, you were playing principal was that concertmaster Depew, right?
Yep, I think it was it Zach Depew?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really good band.
Oh, yeah.
I think Jamie Laredo is still in Vermont
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah. Sorry, this is about you.
Okay.
All about you and you and Buck. I'm very easily taken on a tangent, but so I dragged you in here because this thing that we're doing for NEC
Yeah.
is trying to convince people that learning online is possible. Everybody already knows that, because everybody goes to YouTube, right? If you're thinking, hey, how do I convince my washing machine to do whatever, it's broken, I go to YouTube and find a clip. And everybody I know, my mom, who's probably watching, is looking on YouTube to do all manner of things. And people look for music all the time.
They do.
NEC hasn't been teaching online in that way.
And you can understand what the resistance might be. I mean,
Absolutely.
This is, for centuries, it's been in the same room, right? One-on-one.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like I told you, I haven't had a private concert like this. Like, it's super effective in a small room where, cello wasn't built for playing in stadiums, right?
That's correct. Although it has, but yes.
Yeah, but it's
Heavily amplified.
heavily amplified. Yeah, I did a Beethoven 9 in a stadium in Korea. I don't know how anybody hears anything. It's just, but with so many of the great faculty we have here, I just want to drag them in so we can straight up teach people who watch, and they can ask questions, and we'll post things on YouTube later. But we've been pretty lucky to have people write questions in the past. So far, nobody's chatting. Chat, please, please, I beg of you, ask questions. If all the questions you hear today of Guy are from me, it's going to have a very particular bent and get real nerdy. Um, let's get really basic.
Sure.
When did you start playing the cello?
I started when I was 12 years old.
That's really late for
Yeah, well, I mean,
a string player, right?
if you're 12 and interested, you should start. Don't be
Yeah.
discouraged. But most of my friends and colleagues started early.
I was thinking that's really late. Hey, if you're 12, you can get to where you are.
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
You could get farther.
I
If you
think I didn't.
practice, which I didn't.
What were you doing instead?
Oh
of
man.
practicing?
Oh, pondering very dramatic, morose teenage stuff.
I was not. I was pondering girls.
Well, it was mostly about girls.
Okay, and they didn't want anything to do with me.
Likewise.
Yeah, but I guess I started in like maybe 12 or 13. I think maybe 6th or 7th grade, something like that.
To play clarinet,
Yeah.
not girls.
No.
Okay.
To play clarinet.
Okay.
Were you in you were in middle school? Did you have a really?
I was in middle school. You know, I had moved to the United States. I'm not U.S. born, and I moved to Tyler, Texas. Texas has, if not the, then certainly one of the country's most active and populated school music programs.
Really?
A few people, absolutely.
Still.
I think it's slightly less, but I
Yeah.
think it's, it gets there's a lot of like all state competition
Yeah.
and things like that, and it gets the principals lots of hardware to put in that glass case when you walk into the school. So a lot of support for
So not just football trophies, but cello trophies,
absolutely,
trumpet.
absolutely. And so there was an orchestra in my school, and I needed a class for my schedule. One class remaining that I had to fill in. So on a whim, I just said I'd walk by the orchestra room.
Yeah.
And I thought violin would be too small for me, so I chose cello. It was not a love story necessarily. I mean, I'd heard some music before, but it wasn't like I heard the cello and I was like, I have to play that.
Right.
It was that and sort of social forces that gained me. Once I got decent, it gained me a small amount of social acceptance among a group of people who were very
Right.
socially unacceptable.
Maybe not the football players.
Not the football players, but a very, very nice group of kids who played orchestra and band, so that was great.
I will say orchestra and band nerds are a people.
Oh, absolutely.
And once you get to I would say in undergrad, the orchestra, the string nerds, maybe not necessarily orchestra, the string nerds and the band nerds, so winds and brass, were a little separated and they start to get to know each other. It was really lovely to see. So what I don't get is how do you get from Texas to I'm starting when I'm 12 or 13 to no, I'm serious about the cello. I really want to play the hell out of the cello.
Well, I really liked it. I had good teachers. The fact that there was a social element to playing music has been a consistent theme in my musical life.
Oh, we're all going to be there on Friday night. I better
Well,
practice.
mostly like my community is musicians. I mean, there are non-musicians in my community too, but musicians have always been the core of my community. My wife is a musician, teaches here, in fact, and it's something people use heavily to identify themselves. And when you're in a room full of them, that goes away and it must be you. And you've probably experienced that as well. And you have a huge level of relatedness across many, many different experiences in different areas. So it's a naturally social activity, which is why it's so uncomfortable and unnatural to spend 8 hours a day in a practice room doing scales, which is why I didn't.
I liked that.
You like that? Okay.
Yeah, the scales especially.
All are welcome. All are welcome.
My therapist will hear more about that later.
Yeah.
Sure.
So how I got there is by, I started going to summer festivals, summer camps in high school, which were wonderful. Highly recommended for those of us who are watching who are under college age, go to summer festivals.
What you're saying is that you highly recommend going to NEC's Summer Orchestra Institute.
I didn't want to be that on the nose.
I'll be on that.
There you go.
I'm a shameless shill.
No, absolutely. We have some wonderful offerings here. Absolutely, you should absolutely take advantage of them.
And next summer, we'll talk about that later, but next summer
absolutely.
we've got a new thing.
And then I graduated high school early and was lucky enough to get into a good school with a good teacher. And then just was usually too afraid to face real life after graduation. So just kept doing degrees.
And
after
they
degrees.
eventually call you doctor, and you're like,
Eventually,
well,
they've called me doctor, yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
I found it. You have the DMA.
I do.
I have a PhD. I promise I don't feel superior
You should.
in any way because of
that's
the
a
PhD.
that's a real doctorate.
No,
with DMAs, I apologize. We have real doctorates.
well, to me, I would have appreciated the additional practice time, I think, for the
Right.
DMA.
Right. And I came to NEC for the doctorate specifically because I had heard, and I had heard correctly, that there was a really nice balance of scholarship and practical, playing.
Right.
And if you wanted to go heavy on the scholarship, you could. There are faculty members here who are published PhDs and will guide you in writing a really good dissertation. An amazing advisor who ruined me for life. I can't read anything now without critiquing everything about it the way that she taught me how to do. And so that's what I did. I liked that part of it, the scholarship bit, but I also really, the teacher I had here.
Who was your teacher?
That was Lawrence Lesser.
Oh, okay.
Really kind of changed everything about my technique. And
He's a big deal.
He's a huge deal.
Yeah.
For a good reason. He's a really great teacher. Huge insights into cello playing. He's been doing it, God knows how long, how many decades. And really, what he teaches really was useful to me. I steal from him on a daily basis, my own teaching. So,
this is really interesting to me. What you say, like he transformed it? Maybe that's not the word you used. Were there like fundamental things that he changed? Like what?
Well, for instance, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of musical things that I did from that. That goes without saying. But certain physical approaches to the instrument, understanding of the economy and using the architecture of the body to be as economical a player as possible. So not too many extraneous motions. A quick example, I'm sitting facing you and my cello is slightly angled, right? And that's necessary because it's going this way. Because my fingerboard, like all fingerboards, is curved, and that means that these two strings are higher up, or at least the fingerboard is higher up. This A string is lower, and if my cello faced
you have to kind of go around
towards you, well, what I would have to do in order to be able to play this string is kind of twist this way, which
I've seen kids do that.
Yeah, and so then you're sitting in a sort of an unnatural way, tensing your abdominals in a way that is using energy that you don't need to spend. So if you straighten yourself, relax a bit, and just angle the cello a bit, still can approach the instrument as you would otherwise, just with greater comfort and less extraneous energy being spent. So things like that are really useful to hear and to learn. Certain things about my left hand's approach to the fingerboard. I kind of played with flat fingers, and he prefers a more direct kind of cutting of the string. Whenever you're putting a finger on a stringed instrument, you're cutting yourself a new string length. So this is an A string, this is an E string. That's all you're doing.
Pythagoras.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the argument is that you want to cut that string in the most decisive, accurate way you can, without squeezing, without using force. So usage of gravity and things like that. So a lot of things that I've been very happy to pass on to my own students that I think are really useful. Not every cellist does this. There are different approaches, but I really
mean
believe,
the angle of it.
Yeah, the angle. I'm kind of tall cellists that I know mostly do this, and so I feel like I'm there are lots of examples for me to look up to. Gregor Piligorski, for instance, who was taller than I am. I think he was 6'4.5". Very much angled this way. No surprise, that was Larry's teacher.
What are the small people? Why don't they need to do?
I think they do, but they have we all have different issues. For instance, I have long arms. When I play the A string, I don't know if your viewers can see, but if I pull my bow, this is the end of the bow, my hand can go another foot, or excuse me, my arm. On the C string, I feel very cramped here playing the C string.
And that's because, and if it weren't...
It's just a room that you don't have.
Yeah.
And we deal with it, right? But someone who's shorter, let's say a foot or 2 feet shorter than I am, has opposite problems. They're very, very comfortable. I look at them, I'm so jealous how comfortable they are with the lower strings. When they get to the upper string, oftentimes it's a bit of a reach. So we're all trying to make this thing work. It's a very unnatural thing to do, to move your fingers along a straight line. Nothing in our bodies is straight. And so we all try to find the best and most accurate and efficient way of doing that.
So studying with Larry Lesser.
Yes.
My experience as a clarinet player at NEC when I was here doing a couple of degrees was that anybody that studied with Larry Lesser had a beautiful sound.
Oh.
A beautiful, I mean, as far as I know, nobody was going, I studied with Larry Lesser and then played like crap.
It's a high bar to reach.
But it was lovely. Now, granted, NEC at that time, I don't know about now, I assume it is, not enough cellist or never enough cellist.
Well,
not...
I don't want to discourage cellists from applying, but we just got a boatload. I think we had over 60 cellists come into the school recently. So we are
good Lord,
rich in wonderful cellists.
What, and they were just like, the bar was so high.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever heard Larry Lesser play Bach without an end pen, and the bow looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did?
Well, so you know, from the extensive, very triumphant bio, your viewers will know that a lot of what I do, not exclusively, but a lot of what I do is what's known as historically informed performance on period instruments. Hip, exactly. I'm hip. Baroque players were called sometimes, whatever. So today I'm playing for you on a cello that's strung with gut strings, the way that it was strung in 1720 when this music was composed. I don't know if you can see them.
Yeah.
These two are covered with a metal, but these two are unwound. So there's gut inside these.
One is a wildly different color than the other.
That's just that sheep that day looked.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it's not a vegan cello.
It's not a vegan cello, I'm afraid. This bow is a replica of a Baroque bow from about 1750, right on the edge of what we call the Baroque period. Indeed, I don't use an end pin when I play this music in this manner. I do use an end pin other times. I always use gut strings because I just happen to like them for whatever music I play. And these are the sort of the gateways into this world.
It's a gateway drug.
Well, sort of, yeah.
It's the weed of historically important performance.
Well, it's very easy to sort of make this the focus, like the instruments, the differences between these and what we call modern instruments. Really, these are just tools that hopefully, if used correctly, put you in the world of an 18th, 17th century musician, you know, without the lice and gout. And
speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself.
I have a lot of butter in my
Yeah.
and I have no hair, so
you're clear. Yeah, place you into this world in order to have access to the more important things. You know, recall that recordings are a late 19th century invention. You know, before then, people not only didn't hear themselves, they only heard a piece when it was played. There was a certain immediacy and sense of the ephemeral when music was played, and it's likely that each time it was played, it was a little bit different. And you know, we can't force ourselves to really understand that because that's not the world we live in.
I mean,
music around us all the time,
and literally we're getting people access to you from anywhere they want.
We're sitting in a building that's a centralized education mechanism for music that didn't exist before 1800.
Right.
And so really, if you can attempt to step into that world a little bit and find out what was important to those players, what was important to those composers, oftentimes they were the same person. And maybe you can look at this music from a different perspective and understand something about it that wasn't available if you only rely on the traditions, great traditions, by amazing musicians, but traditions that are passed down from the 19th century, maybe even the 20th century, where different preferences and different emphases were made about this music. And you can do that on a modern cello. You don't have to have gut strings and a Baroque bow. I think you should definitely try it. I know cellists who use a Baroque bow on their steel strings with their modern cello. You know, all things, I think, if you really want to be authentic, authentic was the word that was used in the 80s and 90s about this kind of thing. It made a lot of people angry because who's going to tell Jascha Heifetz is inauthentic, you know? But in fact, his violin was closer to a Baroque violin than, let's say, Itzhak Perlman's is, right?
The violin itself or the way it was set up?
Well, sort of the way it was set up.
Okay.
I mean, the bridge would have been different, but the strings, you know, Jascha Heifetz used gut strings for most of his career. Of course, played in a way that we believe is quite different from the way Vivaldi might have played.
How do you know how that? I mean, if we can't get the recordings,
of course. Well, so you resurrect. You know, there's a whole list of sources that we rely on to try to piece together an understanding that serves this need to go back to the composer's intention, the sound the composers heard. And I should say that the last 80 or so years, when this has become sort of a marketable thing, this insistence on representing the composer's intention, that's a new thing in the history of music.
It's very different from this idea that I, as the performer, am going to go out and express myself.
Which is how players played this music and other music all through the 19th century, a lot of the 20th century. And, you know, the examples we have are by incredible players with force of will and intellect and talent, were able to create amazing interpretations. And those are the interpretations that are so alluring, can often stay in our minds and sort of affect the way we think of this music. I suggest love and admire and respect those interpretations, but maybe gain some information that might help you create your own interpretation.
I think about, as soon as you say that, I think about the Busoni transcription of the Chaconne.
Yeah.
Which is like stuck in my head from John Lenti,
yeah,
the orbo player John Lenti, from our senior year in high school, him playing me all of these wonderful recordings of pianists, which I now think, oh, amazingly romantic.
Oh, yeah.
Even I hear what Wanda Landowska, to me, it's just so, well, I don't know. But because she had like a steel strung.
She had a very, very large kind of electric harpsichord. But you know, she deserves a reassessment. I mean, her playing is quite refreshing, I think. Busoni, Ferruccio Busoni was our president here at NEC for a while.
Not recently, everybody, he's dead.
He's dead a long time. What's wonderful about that arrangement is that he's written into it the way he interprets the piece. Time and emphasis and phrasing.
Ritardando's a cello.
Absolutely.
I see.
And sure, it's a rethinking of this monumental, it's already monumental, and he's got an instrument that Bach didn't have, with range that Bach didn't have.
And
you know,
two hands. And
well,
fingers.
certainly Bach had two hands, not as many keys.
But different instrument, right? The Chaconne's for the violin.
Right. And... Exactly. But, you know, I think Bach would have been happy to play that piece on a keyboard. I think in doing what Busoni did, he actually did something that was very familiar to Bach, and if Bach met Busoni, I don't think Bach would have had a big problem with it. Maybe the way Busoni played it, what his preferences were. But the act of transcription, that's something Bach did every day, constantly, of his own music, other people's music. That was par for the course for most musicians. And that shouldn't be looked down upon too much. I think there's a lot to appreciate in Busoni.
I'm a clarinet player. We look down upon everyone.
They were right.
So, all right, you started with the first cello suite, the first prelude. Just if you're going to start thinking about a historically informed performance practice for this piece, where do you start? I mean, the only thing I know about the Bach, this is not true. I do have a PhD. I'm going to drop that about every 5 minutes.
Okay.
I do know about this Casals art of interpretation, which the more I think about it, I'm thinking so many people have built very romantic interpretations based on this book. But when I look at it, I'm like, actually, this just seems like it might make sense through much of history.
Yeah. And also, Casals, first of all, great cellist, did a huge deal of good for Bach and the music world by really endorsing these pieces and playing them in public.
As concert works.
As concert works. I mean, these were written in 1720. They were copied a few times. Then they were first published in 1824 in Paris. And the title of the publication was Études, so Études, studies. And then throughout the 19th century, they were performed usually with piano accompaniment that someone, Schumann composed piano accompaniments for all 6 suites.
Oh.
Apparently they've been lost. I don't understand how that happens, but other people did as well. With the idea that maybe something was missing in these pieces. They seem kind of, the cello must have been primitive. The Dvorak cello concerto hadn't been written in 1720, so we were in the beginnings. And that's not entirely untrue. I don't think that it really speaks to the cello suites. I think they're quite complete in a very special way, a different conversation.
Well, and the sixth suite, I'll learn to speak, to me when I listen to it, just is unbelievably complex.
They're all very complex. It's the most complexity is when you can seem simple. But they're complex in the sense that there are multiple things happening at all moments, and many of them are being hinted at. Whereas with their sister works of the suites, the unaccompanied sonatas and partitas for violin, Bach puts every note that's possible to play on the page at all times. You can't add more notes to those pieces.
But you can to the cello suites?
I mean, you could work out, and some people have. You could work out the polyphony, right, the multiple voice writing, and add certain notes. And this happens like I don't know. Can I play a second? So like in the Saraband for the suite. So this E in Bach's manuscript is alone, it's by itself. For editions in the 19th century add a chord, which of course it is a C major chord. But the way I think Bach relates to the listener in these pieces, as opposed to the violin music where he gives you everything and amazes you, being able to write polyphonic music, 4-voice music, for an instrument that's designed to play 1 voice. The cello suites, he's pulling things back. So how many things can I hold back from you and involve you in the completion of this music? You know that there's a C there. You know what this E means. And so I'm just going to let you complete the music. It's a different experience of listening.
No, when you say you complete the music, do you mean the performer completes the music or the inner ear?
The imagination of the listener.
Yeah, they're like, I don't hear it, but I understand.
You understand it. Not that the listener should feel insecure, I don't hear that C, I must not be getting it. That's not the point. This is the goal. The goal is to involve you in any possible way. Composer wants his music to be listened to. And I think this is one more level of intricacy that Bach employs. And when we complete the music with a piano accompaniment or with accompaniment on our own instruments, we subtract from the experience a little bit. Plus, it's not what he wrote. So.
Well, yeah, I wonder, is then your idea or an idea of when you're performing this piece that you're trying to give, you're trying to take the listener and put them as close to the experience that they would have had in the time at which it was written?
Well, the way I look at it is I can't know what in fact, it's unlikely that anybody heard these being performed.
Really?
I don't know that there were cellists in Bach's circle in northern Germany in 1720 who could play this music. I think Bach could play this music on the viola.
So if you're going to give them that experience, you're just going to go play it poorly.
Play as badly as I can.
Violas.
And besides, our job is to create experiences now. As I said, if you want to be authentic, that is what authentic music making was in the 18th century. Right now, because tomorrow we want a new piece. This is partly why it took math 104 years for these things to be published. Nobody cared about them the day after they were composed. They wanted new music.
Whereas today, I mean, it's in the word conservatory, right? We're often looking back and not.
Well, look at our concert
today.
programs. I mean, in 1880, a typical program, a symphonic program would have had 80% new music.
Yep.
Wagner, Strauss,
Yep.
Mahler, and 20% old music. Maybe they'd play a Mozart symphony that they liked, maybe a Beethoven symphony. Today, it's exactly opposite. We might throw a new composer, a new composition, 20%.
Token 21st century.
And then it's your Brahms symphony and Bartok Concerto for Orchestra. And that's fine, that's our taste, but it's completely reversed from what it used to be. And there are many reasons for that. So I don't think that we have the same understanding of new music, and we certainly don't have the thirst for hearing, for experiencing air molecules being displaced by an instrument or a voice right in front of us hit our eardrums the same way. Our eardrums are usually occupied by earbuds or speakers or a TV or a computer or a phone.
I think I'm gonna disagree.
Oh, how dare you?
And it may not be me. I will say I don't go to a lot of more classical, I don't go to a lot of concerts these days. I go when it's very interesting to me. But have you seen what happens with like Blackpink? Do you know what Blackpink is? Blackpink is one of it's one of the most famous. It's a K-pop group.
Okay.
And it's when there are four of them. I will say, I'm not going to say this live on stream. I'm not going to disparage them because boy, do they have fans. But they do these world tours where it's a full-on experience. They're singing and dancing, but tens of thousands of people go that could hear a better version, a more, let's say, pristine mix, and they could hear all the words. But they go for that communal experience.
Well, sure.
That
but
includes
in an arena with 30,000 other people,
or 70,
or 70,000, very good for them. I think that's a different experience, though.
Totally different. Absolutely.
I don't think that people are over a communal experience. Not at all. We're a social animal.
Do you feel like these are communal experiences when you perform this music? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a much, much smaller crowd. I mean, the most people I've played for on a regular basis, about 2,000.
That's a huge number of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, no shame to play in Symphony Hall here in Boston.
Not a bad joint.
Not a bad joint, but even when I'm playing for 30, I'm playing for 50 for one. We're communicating something.
Yeah.
And I dare say, was it Blackpink?
Yeah.
Blackpink?
That's going to be a short. I'm sure of it. I dare say, what was it? Blackpink?
Yeah, Blackpink. You're not exactly hearing air molecules displaced by an instrument. You're hearing them displaced by 70 huge monitor speakers.
And I think actually for me, we were talking about before about like what the composer's intentions are versus what the performer going out and expressing themselves.
Yeah.
They're probably singing a song that 12 people made that are not current. None of them are on stage.
Yeah.
That 12 people composed. And it's really about a post-Wagner, they're expressing themselves. It's the dancing, it's the singing, it's the people in the audience.
And people in 1720 had that. They had the opera, they had ballet, oftentimes in an opera. Spectacle was always, and what's interesting is that 70,000 people will go hear a band like that when they have other forms of entertainment available to them at all times for probably much less than what a ticket costs to see these guys. Guys?
ladies.
Ladies, excuse me, Blackpink.
It's okay. I don't believe they're going to be that offended.
I don't think they're going to see this,
no.
but if you do, apologies.
Yeah.
But you know, the folks in 1720 had nothing else. It was literally nothing else, and also life pretty hard.
So this was a special event.
I think anytime someone could grab an instrument and create sound that made sense. Sorry, this bug that won't leave. It was a special event.
Okay.
And if you can put yourself in that world for a moment, just to see how it affects you as a human being and as a musician. You don't have to go out on stage and pretend we're in 1720 in some unair conditioned, hut where people are, whatever. But this information, this insistence on what the composer had available to him, what was important to him, what was important to the people around him, that can just serve to put you in a space to understand the music differently. And then the experience, you asked, what do I hope people will get out of this? There's a whole spectrum of things you could get out of it. It could be just entertainment. You could be amazed at the fact that I can make sound on this thing. You just love the way this cello looks, the way it sounds, the music itself, aspects about the music, whole slew of things. I'm not really particular about what your experience is. Mostly I'm particular about you taking, that piece was 3.5 minutes long, taking 3.5 minutes and being a bit elevated from the rest of your life. 3.5 minutes. And whatever happens, great. Whatever happens is great. I'm not, I don't have a particular, I want to play as well as I can. I did okay. Missed one note that I'm unhappy about.
It's on the internet forever.
It's on the internet forever. People will have to know that I'm imperfect.
You were planning on playing another piece,
sure,
or another movement actually from the same suite. Yeah. Could you play it, and then because there's this whole thing, rhetoric, and I don't know a damn thing about rhetoric outside of the current political climate, when we talked on the phone, there was like a hot minute where you started talking about dance forms, and I shut you down because I was like, save the gold for the stream.
Sure.
I don't want to get too excited while I'm driving up the Merritt and careen off the road.
Well, a suite in the 18th century is a collection of dances. It starts with a prelude, which I play you. I'll play you one of the dance movements. These are binary. They have 2 sections, and usually each section is repeated, but for time's sake, I won't do the repeats. I'll just play it through. Okay. So this is the courante.
All right, hold on just a moment.
Sure.
Sorry, I was distracted
Just
by.
so moved.
Yeah, so I have to sometimes order my words in my head so I say them the right way. As a clarinet player coming through here in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was very much a movement and going into the orchestra world. being completely in control of of your instrument, every note, but also really being even. Everything is very even, and so notes don't stick out, and you're not accenting too many notes. There was this from carry on and this very lush sound, and what I hear you playing, absolutely in control, but there are notes that are way more important than other notes. The tempo is not from, let's say, beat to beat, super metronomic. There's very much, no, I mean, but there's a willingness to move ahead a little bit and to come back, but it makes sense. It feels natural. It feels inevitable, if that makes sense, especially some of these 16th notes. Can we, I'm going to switch to this screen capture so they can now see my egghead and you as you were before. And I wonder if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to just fix this because it's making me nuts. We're going to make you slightly larger. There we go. Very slightly larger.
Okay.
So they can see the Quran.
Quran, yeah.
Okay, I'm from North Carolina.
No, that's quite all right.
I got really close.
Yeah.
You were talking. How are you thinking about what's important, or how you're going to have it interpreted?
Well, that's exactly the point. What's important? So you spoke about what you felt as the general approach to music making as a clarinetist going into the orchestra world while you were here.
Which I will say, tried to throw away.
Well, okay. Our teachers have a job to do. And I suspect, I don't know many of the WIN teachers personally, a lot of them come from the BSO. And
it was very helpful.
I suspect that they feel like their job is to prepare their students for orchestral auditions and place them in top orchestras, which is God's work. And an orchestral audition is a very particular thing. I wish our students learned that as earlier than they already do. It's its own thing. And I think that in as much as an orchestra is made of 60 to 100 people acting as one organism, let's call it a machine, let's be cold for a second. There are mechanical aspects of it. We have to do things together. So, I'm a fan of automatic watches, mechanical watches. And if a watch of mine stops working, I take it to a watchmaker, opens it up, finds the wheel or spring that isn't working, replaces it, and the thing should work again, right? He doesn't ask the spring how it feels about its job. Could you express your whatever differently? It just has a job to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to my watches, an orchestra is made of human beings who are artists, who are trained to be expressive. And for the time in which they are playing in an orchestra, have to direct their expressivity and their skill towards a unified approach, which is usually dictated by either a conductor or a principal player.
Right.
And that's a different skill. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a different skill. And the audition is the best way we have come up with in order to determine who can play in this orchestra. And what people are generally interested in hearing from behind the screen is that we can take you and plop you into this machine and not worry about you. So that when we practice our Midsummer Night's Scherzo, it has to sound like that. Now, if I kept going and I did this, you'd think I was imitating a machine gun. Absolutely equal. No orchestra actually plays it like that. The good ones will create some shape and some interest in it. But for the purpose of the audition, that's what we have to do. And the danger is that the student either is convinced or becomes allured by the power and predictability of that sort of equality and applies that equality to everything. And then everything sounds the same. And that's not what anybody in this building wants.
Right.
But we have a short time with these kids and we have to send them off into the world and we want them to win auditions. Unless they're like me and everybody knows this guy's never getting into orchestra.
I will Now, I'm going to disagree. You have at least one current orchestra job. It is a period
It's
orchestra.
a period orchestra.
I met you, we were youngish in our 20s. You're playing principal in kind of a festival orchestra. You've done some
I've done some orchestra, absolutely.
And I assume that at times you freelanced in more modern
I
orchestras.
did, but let's put it this way. Few people, I think, come to study with Larry in order to prepare solely for winning a job.
Right.
And I think winning a job is a wonderful thing. It's nice to be able to make a living in doing what you like doing. You get to play an instrument in what is basically a part-time job, make a living at it.
Yeah.
And obviously amazing music, hopefully with good conductors, good colleagues. But you know, I didn't come to Larry for that. That wasn't my goal. Anyway, I think that, you know, we could crassly say that in this part of music history, our world, that insistence on power and sameness,
Homogeneity.
homogeneity. I mean, look, I hope we don't get sued by McDonald's. The McDonald's Big Mac is a terrible burger.
Yeah.
By any metric, it's a terrible
It's been
burger.
getting worse.
But what makes it popular, not only the price, but the fact that you can go to a McDonald's anywhere in the world and get the exact same thing. You know what you're going to get. It would be shocking if it tasted different. There are areas in our world where expectations being met is a good thing. I don't think music making is it. Now, you should be able to go and win an audition and then go home and play Bach in a different way. You shouldn't have to just do things one way. So you asked me how I think about this music and why I bring certain things out, what's important. So as your viewers can see, I think they can see the music.
Yeah.
What's on the page is the name of the movement, right? Staves, I should say. I did go to school. A bunch of black dots on those staves, right? The pitches.
Yeah, you have a doctorate.
I have a doctorate, thank you. How long, you know, what the length of each of those notes is relative to the notes around it. Key signature and time signature, and that's it. There are no dynamics, there are no expressive marks. The bowings in there, if you compare them to the manuscript.
There aren't any bowings.
In the Courant?
In the one that you gave us, no bowings. It's completely clean. No bowings, no dynamics.
Oh, interesting.
One trill in this first 30 or so measures.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I thought I gave you the
oh, you gave us the manuscript. Would you prefer that we switch?
Well, you can look at the manuscript if you can switch to
Okay.
it. That's even more confusing because the bowings aren't regular and they're hard to read. That's a different conversation.
Oh man, if I can even find the Quran.
Well, so at any rate, the point is that there is almost no information on the page, and that is typical of music of the 17th and 18th centuries, and some of the 19th as well. We didn't even have crescendo marks, you know, the hairpin, until the very late 18th century.
Huh.
And so, is everything all right?
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up so they can see it. Sorry.
So the challenge is to decide how to play this music in a meaningful and musical way without any instruction from the composer of how he intended this music to go. How fast, how slow, how loud, how soft, short, long, which notes go together, which notes don't. There are 100 different editions of this music, and every cellist has done his or her own thing. But, you know, we still don't know what Bach intended. And Bach was practicing composing music the way everybody around him composed. There's no need to put directions, because Bach believed, I think, that if you were a well-trained musician, which meant you sang, you composed, you played keyboard, and you also played one or many more instruments, you had in your training an understanding of the structure of music. And one of the things that informs both composers and performers in the 18th century about how to decipher the structure of music is understanding the two most important forces that were at play on performers and composers. Those forces are dance, right? Dance. And what we say, we call it rhetoric. Rhetoric is the art of persuasion through speech. Really, in our context, I mean, there are people who are very interested in rhetorical figures found in music. Like if you have a dropping seventh, there's a name for that, and it signifies this or that. Or Bach is big with symbolism, of course. But for our purposes as performers, what we mean is how speech-like can you make your music? And what that means is understanding what speech actually is.
Did we have some letter from Bach saying this should be speech-like?
So we have almost no information from Bach about himself. We have a few letters to town councils.
You mean I have the Bach reader and there's very little Bach in the Bach
There is
reader?
very little by Bach himself. Lots of second and third hand. Yeah, he didn't write much about himself.
That was an expensive book. It was a gift.
It's a great book. I recommend it to everybody. But it's a compendium. It's not a reading book. It's like, let's see what Bach owned when he died. There's a table of all the stuff he had.
Maybe for you.
Sorry?
Maybe for you.
Maybe for me. So what we do have is a lot of information from people around Bach, including people who are very important to Bach, friends of his, the composer Mattheson, for example, wrote a ton of books about how to be a musician in the middle of the 18th century. He was a friend of Bach's. I don't think Bach worked in a vacuum.
So we can read that and know, even if he's not talking about Bach specifically, that he's talking about the world in which Bach lived.
Exactly. And Mattheson went as far as to, for instance, take a minuet that he composed, print the minuet, and above and below it, put commas and semicolons and colons and periods, and really show you how this is like spoken language. And composer after composer writes about the connection from way before Bach and all the way through the 19th century.
Is this why we have our little comma breath mark?
I don't think that's necessarily why, but maybe.
I think I just saw like all of
It's
notation. Yeah.
Mind blown.
Okay, so take me into this. Take me into the Quran. So you have these notes. I have the manuscript up.
Yeah.
How are you going to put that into practice?
Well, so I mentioned how you should understand, come to an understanding of what speech is. One of the salient features of speech, and as far as I know, all languages. I haven't encountered a language where this is not true. If your viewers know of one, by all means, I'd love to know it.
They're being very quiet about the chatting.
That's
There's
okay.
no chatting going.
That's all right. They're mesmerized by
Yeah.
the gold nuggets I'm dropping on them. The train has left the station. I lost my thought. So speech, the salient feature of speech, there it is the inequality of emphasis on words. We have important syllables, like syllables, tada, right?
Right.
If we emphasize every syllable, we start talking like this, like a syllable that sounds like this. And
can I hear some of it like that?
What, like Bach?
Just like a bar of every syllable.
Well, if I were, so for instance, if I were to play the beginning of this courant with every eighth note being equal, I'll try. That's particularly oafish.
Yeah.
I think one can disagree with me and make that sound artful, but I did play it as though each note was equally important, I think.
And you're saying...
Worst yet is if I vibrated them, then it adds one more level of sameness.
It's like 4 on the floor beat, like every, well, not in this case.
Well, it's a dance.
Yeah.
And dance also relies on inequality of beats. I mean, if our listeners think of any popular song they like from any era, most likely that song is in 4/4, and most likely that song has a hi-hat or a bass drum on 2 and 4.
Right, the backbeat.
Not the backbeat. So people who haven't read Mattheson or necessarily have gone to conservatory know intrinsically that a strong beat makes your hip goes this way, and then it makes your hip go this way.
Yeah.
And that's how people dance. There are times where your feet are on the floor, where your feet are off the floor. And once you introduce sameness, you lose that lilt that is required. It's requisite for dancing, and it's required in language. So I've got 4 eighth notes, and I have to decide which one of them is important. So I have a pickup to a downbeat, and then a D and a G. By the time I play the downbeat, the ear knows we're in G major. This is the only thing I played for you. You'd know we're in G major already. That means that the next D and the final G are just reiterations of information you've already had. It's old information. It doesn't need to be emphasized. You already have heard it. So knowing that, you have the freedom of maybe shaping away. Let's say we shape away. Maybe too much. So I played this G, I tried to at least, slightly less than that G. If Bach wanted to notate this, he might put a dash above the downbeat, maybe a mezzo forte and then a diminuendo hairpin, and 2 dots on the 2 eighth notes that follow the downbeat. So I would be absolutely sure of what he intended. But he didn't do that.
He assumes you're a good musician, you know what you do.
Yeah. Now look, there are players I admire, Janos Starker, an amazing cellist of the 20th century, recorded the suite 6 times, and I'm pretty sure that in each time those eighth notes are quite equal in his interpretation.
In terms of size, volume,
the
dynamic.
volume and the emphasis.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're wonderful recordings. It's amazing to hear someone play that well. So there are different ways of looking at the same thing and coming to different conclusions. I would say Starker probably did not spend too much time worrying about this kind of stuff. This is how he heard this dance.
He had that in his mind.
That's what he heard, and being a genius of the cello meant that he could execute what he heard. It's just that those of us who are not burdened with a perfect technique like that have to come up with other ways.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. So my way has been to sort of investigate and frankly be taught by multiple people, teachers, colleagues, people I don't even know, possibilities of interpreting things that look pretty simple. I mean, it's just 4 eighth notes, just outlining a G major chord. That's all it is. But there are levels of nuance that can make the piece come alive. And if you do your job well, and you think hard and practice hard, it just sounds the way it's supposed to sound.
It sounds like it just happens.
There it is. Oh, that's a G major courant. It's not like anybody's going to say, oh my God, that was the greatest musical experience I've ever heard. But it requires that much attention to tiny, the smaller the detail, you can apply that level of attention. And the search for places to let up a bit. We're very good at putting energy into the cello, less good at letting up. And it's really about the letting in. Where do we de-emphasize this music?
Okay, so you've now spent 10, 15 minutes on 4 notes.
Yes.
What next?
Well, so there are clues that Bach gives you. One of them is writing a piece in 3. And we know from centuries of discussion about pieces in 3 that composers have been debating, but basically about 2 possibilities. One where the first beat is emphasized, second beat is de-emphasized, and then the disagreement is whether the third beat leads to the next one or is emphasized itself or is nothing at all. So there are several options of playing, a famous example, if you play... you sound like a really good beginner cellist who's got Suzuki Book 1 and is playing that piece and probably really excited because he or she is recognizing that piece, and it's wonderful. But that's not how a minuet is danced.
Right.
It's... There's shape, there are more important notes, less important notes. Why would you emphasize the same, you've got a C, C, C. It's the same information for 3 beats. Why say it the same way? Do you ever say the same thing the same way 3 times in a row? No. Without having someone think that you're having a stroke? So, the same rules apply. We have to find variety. We have to find places to de-emphasize. And it's difficult to persuade, especially our amazing students, because they're busy every day, all day long, trying to sound great at all times. Their job here is to sound good.
Yeah.
To get better. And they walk through hallways where lined with practice rooms and they hear everybody else sounding great. And it's like a petri dish of great sound. And trying to tell them, you know what? you don't have to sound your best on that note. That's the weak syllable. I don't care how ul was not my most supported, clear, sonorous sound. It's at the end of the word syllable. You know what I said. You know the information. You understand it.
Yeah.
You don't need me to say syllable. You know, it's ridiculous.
Do you think any of that, trying to sound beautiful, resonant, and big on every note, has something to do with the fact that maybe we're playing for larger rooms, larger crowds?
Yeah, you know, that's a popular, it might be true. I can't know. What I do know is that there are massive halls. Royal Albert Hall in London is one of the biggest spaces I've ever seen in my life. I've played there. It was constructed at a time when people played cellos held with their legs with gut strings, not quite Baroque. Even Symphony Hall, 1901, most people were playing gut strings. You know, we say, well, you know, we got modern bows and steel strings because the halls were big. We had plenty big halls before. Also, nobody can fill up those halls. It's all an illusion. You know, you can have the loudest cello with the steeliest steel strings. If that orchestra behind you wants to overtake you, they're going to overtake it. There's nothing you can do about it.
Remember that.
Sorry?
Remember that.
Remember that. So, remember thou art mortal. I think the idea of volume and the size of the space in which we play, it's more about the message that you're giving and what you can do to draw the listener's attention. Shaping and variety and emphasis and de-emphasis, that gets the listener involved. If you give them just this, of as gorgeous a sound as you can, but it's this all the time, I feel like the ear goes dead after a while.
Oh, studies say that. Studies say, you know, that if you're listening to the same thing, you just stop hearing it at all. Right. Which is why there was an old SNL character where the guy had trouble modulating the sound. I will say that I have added a bit of compression to our lav mics, so we're not yelling or you know, on your performance mics. There's no compression, so you get full dynamic range, but at least so we're not yelling in people's ears.
Yeah. So I think we have choices. You know, being an artist ultimately is about making choices, and you should have the biggest palette of choices at your disposal. And you should be able to make an equal, beautiful, sonorous sound and sustain it for as long as you possibly can, as one of 1,000 different choices of what kind of sound to make and what kind of time. You don't want to be a player who makes one sound.
So what's the next choice on that?
Well, so, you know, we're talking about clues that Bach gave. Well, one of the most important things about the structure of this music, that structure that we as players are supposed to decipher, is the harmonic language, which is usually pretty simple. So this piece starts in G major, like all the movements in the suite. This entire bar, arguably maybe a slight hint at D major. Maybe. You could also say it just stays in G major. Maybe. I mean, it's a grunt.
Yeah.
Whatever. Then the second bar, also G major. Now C major. We have new information. D major. New information. So you've got two bars of the same, and then a difference and a different. Now it happens, the harmonic progression here is what we call 1. Right? G is 1, then 4, then 5, then 1. Which is probably the most often used chord progression in both classical and popular music.
Yeah.
But what Bach is doing is giving you an opportunity to do something in the third beat, excuse me, the third bar, and then do something again in the fourth bar.
With the E, and then we go to the F sharp.
Notice that the shape of the music is more or less the same. Yes, the second bar is slightly different. 6/16 notes, then again 3/8 notes, and then 2/16 notes, 2/8 notes. But now, like the first bar, so the rhythmic structure remains the same. What changes is the harmony. So Bach is sending you a message. What's important here is not just that it's different harmony. Who are you in C major and who are you in D major? You have the opportunity to be a different musician in each harmonic realm.
Different color, different approach to
absolutely
the start of each note.
Differently. The mistake would be to play them absolutely the same and say, well, they look the same. Nothing is written on the page. I'm playing them the same.
So what is this? This to me feels like Schenker.
100%.
Yeah.
Well,
without the racism, the deep embedded racism that Schenker had a problem with. This long-term kind of structural thinking, structural hearing, as Mr. Salt
Schenker
said.
didn't make stuff up. The stuff is there. Cellists can attempt to find, it's difficult to find, it might be on INSLP, an edition by my teacher's teacher, his name is Diron Alexanian, who basically created an edition of the Bach suites in Schenkerian analysis.
Oh.
But it shouldn't be too difficult to do it yourself. These are, the harmonic language in Bach cello suites is both simple and slow moving. It's slow moving. It's not, there are very few places where it's difficult to ascertain exactly what's going on.
Well, the thing that I'm thinking about when I start talking about the Schenker is that in that fourth movement, that F sharp on the downbeat, sorry, I'm going to use my toy for everybody to see the F sharp. Oh, that's the world's worst circle. It's just like...
Which movement? I'm sorry.
Sorry, the fourth measure. Fourth measure, sorry. That F sharp in G major, I would be like, where's my resolution to the G?
And so Bach is a great master, like all great composers, maybe better than some, in playing with your expectations. So you expect something like
Thank
that.
you.
Which a worse composer, me, probably would have done. Bach does changes that he prolongs the dominant, makes it the dominant 7, and then you get a resolution until the third beat, which is a kind of a thumbing your nose at anybody who thinks the third beat should be weak, because you've got new harmony on the third beat, interesting new information. Bach, the harmonic language is simple doesn't mean that he's simple.
Right.
It's what happens around it and how that simplicity is used.
Do you try to take it all the way to that? I mean, in this printed edition, I switched to the printed edition because it's a little easier to read. I think it's bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You finally get
to a G major resolution. Yeah.
The resolution. Are you thinking like, I'll get there?
Well,
how I get there? Or are you thinking about holding that tension, or no?
I feel like the nice thing about Bach is that if you take care of gesture, if you take care of the moment in which you're playing, if you take care of nuance and harmony and the depiction of harmonic changes, articulation, all of the emphasis and de-emphasis, Bach took care of the long line. What you can do best is to, or what would be best to do, I should say, is to get out of his way. And, you know, too often the idea of this long line causes a trajectory that has no, it's like, you know, walking with horse blinders on, right? It has no pit stops, no places to rest, no let up. It's just long line.
A laser.
Not always, it shouldn't be. Obviously it exists. There's a phrase there that's 8 bars long. It's very typical. It's conventional, even. And we know that. We expect that. He's not going to play with that bit. He's not hiding. He's not giving us 7 or 9 bar phrases. But I think that there are more important things to bring out or let go of in order to create a lilt, a feeling that we're listening to a dance. than worrying about showing the listener that we know that there's a long line and this is where it starts and this is where it ends. That's self-evident to the listener. I don't think you have to worry too much about that.
Okay. Well, so how does bring me back to rhetoric? Because you're thinking yum bum 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 ba-da-dee-da-da-da-dum bum bum. How does rhetoric?
Well,
rhetoric. There's no
what I
T
would
at the end.
hope is that if anyone were to try to find what could be called a rhetorical approach in my playing, it would be demonstrated by a variety of emphases, which reflect my belief that music should be spoken rather than sung. We're often asked to sing on our instruments, on all instruments, by extremely wonderful, well-meaning, intelligent musicians. Sometimes our teachers, sometimes conductors, whatever. And usually what is meant is, please give me continuous sound. And there are times where continuous sound is glorious and exactly what you should do. But the use of that word, singing, I think is a misunderstanding of great singing. Any of our professors and students will tell you that text is what comes first. This is why singers study diction. It's to attempt to be understood. So their character's story can be understood to a listening crowd while they are basically controlled screaming. I mean, they're pushing enormous amounts of air through their mouth, and the mechanism changes. And so I think good singers, you listen to someone amazing, like, I'm not a singing historian, but or singer, a vocalist historian, but I've listened to Pavarotti, for instance. Amazing singer, beautiful voice, right? But what I'm told by people who worked with him or saw him perform, you could understand the text, the last row of the Met.
Right.
And that's where the genius was. It's not just that the voice was beautiful. Beauty is subjective.
It's the clarity.
The clarity and the ability to create that sound while still making you understand you're listening to speech. When a character in an opera is singing but giving you a lot of information, they're imitating speech. Sure, an aria might have repeated information. That's how an aria is different from the recitative. But really, the singer's job is to convey a text. If it's a liturgical work, it's liturgical text. If it's a secular work, an opera, whatever, it's a story. Very, very few vocal pieces contain no text. I can think of fewer than a handful. And that determines the shape of the notes, the shape, the space between the pitches. Very few singers sing like we are supposed to play when we quote unquote sing on our instrument.
Yeah.
So I would love it if we imitated singers more. If we actually did what great singers do.
I feel like I heard a lot of that discussion of singers when I first got exposed to like a really great teacher. His name was Bob Listokin. He, for example, when I got to NEC, there were people in the BSO who had been there in the BSO for 30 years who were like, "Oh, you studied with Bob. He always sounded so beautiful. And it was such a vocal sound." And you can find some of his recordings, but he was always saying, "Go listen to this person. Go, Benita Valente. These recordings of Shepherd on the Rock are stunningly beautiful. So far, I think I found 4 or 5 different recordings, and they're all lovely, but just the flexibility of the sound. I would say I'm not there. I'm constantly thinking like, okay, how can I be more interesting? Hopefully we're all thinking that. What would you mind just playing maybe from the top to like the repeat, just so we can kind of get it. Now that we're thinking about this, we can hear more of that. I'm going to switch away from the lav mic to the interface mic so people can hear it with, dynamic contrast. Just that much, unless you want to play the whole thing.
Another take or two.
We'll take more takes any day of the week. For me, when I hear that, it feels like it could be wildly different every time you play it for me.
Oh.
In a way that, like, I'm like, well, what's about to happen? As opposed to, like I said something about it being inevitable before, but it's like the harmonic progression seems inevitable, except when it's a surprise, even though I've heard this piece a million times. I've played it on bass clarinet, and
You're very complimentary. It's very sweet.
It's the first time in my life.
The money you're paying me for this gig, you don't need to.
I can't afford to be anything other than complimentary.
Happy to get those.
Okay, so it's 8:54, so we gotta get you on your way.
Yeah.
I want to ask a very quick question.
Sure.
You and I have been working on a new program next summer
Yes.
that, as far as I understand it, is designed to work with college-age students
Yes.
who are not early music experts, possibly, who would like to learn a lot more about this, about how to do what you're doing. Do I have?
Well, yes, although if they are interested in specializing in this,
Right.
I think they are welcome as well. Like I would welcome people who have decided this is going to be a part of their life.
I see, because they're going to be working with experts.
Well, that's the thing. Here at NEC, we have a program called the Harry Pratt Early Music Program. Harry Pratt funded this incredible initiative to build an early music faculty, to invite people for residencies, guest artists, buy a lot of instruments. We have a lovely library of Baroque instruments, winds, brass, strings, keyboard. And so we have this incredible faculty, and I wanted to create an intense and intensive, about a week, maybe a little bit longer experience where people can come in, take lessons with these incredible faculty members, be coached by them in chamber music, potentially have an orchestral experience. We're toying the idea of a vocal element as well. Perform, hopefully, in our incredible Jordan Hall at the end of the week. And it's sort of built around the faculty that we have and wanting to make them accessible to as many people as possible.
That's great. So I'm going to say that if you're interested in this, then keep an eye on our website in the coming weeks, it's more than 1 week. In the coming weeks, we'll have more information that we're posting about that. And if you have questions for Guy, you can email ee@necmusic.edu. If you have questions for me, you can email that as well.
Frankly, guy.fishman@necmusic. Feel free to write me, absolutely.
So if you look in the chat, it's been kind of on a timer. There are links there to Guy's faculty page at New England Conservatory, and his email address is on that faculty page. Absolutely. So you can email Guy and talk to him about gut strings and he'll watch you
all day.
But Guy, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, glad you asked me. Thank you.
We had what I assume are nerds watching, which I appreciate. We are both nerds. So I really appreciate it. Everybody, thank you. We didn't get one person chatting, which is okay. You were too overcome with the genius of what you're hearing. So I appreciate that. But thank you so much. We'll see you next week.